Oh, well, I was just talking about how, like, because I'm part deaf, it's hard for me to play comp, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I had that a couple days ago actually. Like one of the ear cups in the headset was broken, so I had to
Mhm.
play like a few games. Well, for like 3 or 4 days,
oh,
nothing until I realized, oh, I can just use my earphone.
that would
You know?
drive me crazy. If I had to play with only sound in one ear. Like I
Yep.
had a headset where one of the ears like broke, and I would rather well, it was a set of earbuds, it wasn't a headset. But I would rather just walk around with the ear that didn't work dangling out rather than have it like in my ear not playing anything, because it's just like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just bought a new headset at this point. It's just like I went around the city just to see if there's maybe like some place that already sells this, but no,
No.
there's
To be
nothing.
fair,
Oh, there's
no,
never
I mean,
anything.
in a game such as Siege, like, sound is one of the most important things.
Mm.
Yeah. A lot of a lot of my late round pushes come down to where I can hear the enemy. Like when you're about to push into sight and maybe you don't have a drone, like if there's like two or three enemies left, I'm just gonna like try and find out where they are based on sound. Like it's like 75% of the reason I get kills sometimes. But yeah, the audio is definitely a huge part of the game. But
Oh, without a doubt. Like, without audio in this game, it's a completely different game.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I can't even play
I
Terra
mean,
Sun without my headset on. It like feels weird.
and say, I mean,
Yeah, I
oh, so
mean,
that's what I'm doing now, and it's really painful because you just
no,
run into bombers.
no, I've been playing T Hunt like literally today. I was playing T Hunt, and it's much easier to just not play with any audio because then all you would do is
Train your aim.
yeah, you just set it on house and then just run around.
Yeah. For me, it's I don't know what it is. It might be a console thing because I use a controller, but when trying to control my recoil, like when I pull down my stick, I can't properly control my recoil if I can't hear the weapon shooting. So like if I don't have my headset on, I have a much harder time controlling recoil. It's weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Real interesting talk, anyways.
I would say, wasn't it like I can't remember what it was, but was it like the Nordic Championship or something? Kind of like everyone was complaining because the sound was just awful and they couldn't
No.
hear everything.
Well, you want the down low and everything. Basically, is only Shate that was having problems, and Shate had the problem. It when you start up, you're in prep phase. You can hear when you don't have any audio, right? It's not really very complicated.
Yeah.
But starts off the game and he can't hear shit. So I'm
Yep.
like, okay, in that moment, what would you do? You're playing a tournament, so
You make a complaint there and then, surely.
and then you stop the game and you figure everything out. You let the casters fill, and then you come back, right?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't do that and keeps playing, and he plays map one and he plays map two like that and doesn't complain, and then goes on social media and complains about it. Mate, it's your fault for doing it.
Yeah.
We
I
can all
remember hearing.
complain about the hold, but that's one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember hearing about that, and I was thinking, like, because the only logical conclusion to me was that he must have asked for help, and then they just didn't help him. So I
No, it
was
doesn't
like,
work like
yeah, yeah. So I was like, wow, I'm really surprised that nobody like helped fix his headset for him or so that he could hear. But I, if he just didn't ask for any help, then that's stupid.
no, we told him it's his fault, but he lost and they were triggered because they shouldn't have lost to basically a mixed team after winning the season.
Right.
So
Yeah, wasn't it a combination of formerly Yes Nos and Penta?
Well,
basically,
it was like renewals and
Right.
snooking, right? Or secret.
yep.
I think it was
Renewals and secretly.
Yeah.
Renewals,
And then-
secretly, Pengu, Fabian, and someone else.
Yep, that's basically it. It's obviously it can be a pretty darn good team pro league.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely.
you're like coming in after Brazil and they just get absolutely demolished by a mixed team. Should not happen.
Especially when you think, I mean, in my personal opinion, at Sao Paulo was probably the best I've ever seen Ents play. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous how well they played.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's just one of the mistakes.
Yeah. I think I don't know. You win some, you lose some, but I think pretty much any team in any region of Pro League could beat any other team. It just like comes down to the well, like in certain scenarios, like on certain maps or when like I think the thing is more I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I'd say any team can lose in a scrim, for example. But in Pro League and stuff like that, then every team's going to be bringing their absolute A game. So I think there's a less chance of that happening. Like I don't think at the Invitational, like any, like I'm sure there will be upsets, but I don't think like all the good teams are probably going to lose. But I think there's a possibility of.
It depends on where you look the bracket, because there's definitely the possibility. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about during the recording. This is the thing. From my experience in the past, like 5 years of watching teams play and actually being within their circle, I've seen that scrims don't really matter. Like, sure, in Siege right now, because of the fact that I haven't had anything leading up to the Invitational, you don't really know what people can do against one another. But you can't rely on this. I think scrims just, they don't show much, especially with now a lot of teams don't want to scrim one another, because teams that can upset are definitely realizing that, oh damn, we can actually do this. There's a way for us to actually make it past the first 3 days. So we should probably, leave everything south. And honestly, that's something that might surprise the bigger teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm really excited to see what's gonna be happening. You're going to Montreal, right? Fairly soon.
Yeah. Well, I think we're supposed to leave next Sunday, so not tomorrow.
That will be tomorrow when we release this, probably.
Yeah. So it'll be the Sunday the week after.
Yeah.
That's normally. I still haven't received my visa, so I'm waiting for my passport to be done.
Hashtag get Milosh to Montreal.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just get Milosh, a non-shit passport at this. That's the real problem.
Yeah.
Oh, the worst part are passport photos. I look like I'm on the run in mine. I look like I've just sold like a massive bag of coke and I need to get on like an escape.
Yeah. Now I have one picture that's like from my first visit to Canada a few years ago, and since it was my first time ever flying and applying for a visa, I wanted to look as innocent as possible. So yeah, I'm not even kidding.
Did you bring like a pacifier to have in your mouth or something?
It was bad because like I looked super geeky. It looked like a fly could actually harm me more than I could harm it. But in reality, like, nothing like. But hey, that was like, that's one of the things when you apply for a visa in a third world country, then you never know. No matter with how many papers you have, they can just say, "Oh no, we don't give you."
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they just say no. That's something I've experienced too, so yeah, that's annoying.
So far it hasn't happened.
Hopefully. No. Yeah, exactly. So
let's hope it doesn't. It wouldn't be the same without you.
If it happens here, honestly, I think my boss will be very disappointed. Sorry, Daniel, but I can't really do much about that.
Yeah. Episode 3's just gone up. Yay!
Hey, there you go.
Hey.
We're recording this as episode 3 went up. Yeah.
So, what do you guys have in mind today? Like, what do you want to talk? Because I know, like, usually you'll talk about everything and anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we like to roll it.
Yeah, but like, do you have like any ideas, some specific things that you may want to know?
I usually try to make a brief agenda, but I've been so flustered the last week, I've completely forgot about it, and it's just gone out the window. I usually make a small little agenda of things that I want to run over, and this week I just kind of really forgot. But I guess one thing I want to start on is what's the equipment like to cast with at LAN?
It's very similar to what we have in a studio here. So, usually you'll see us wearing like the same headsets. These are very good Sennheiser headsets. They're actually terrible to use, as in if you put these things on your ears for a decent chunk of time, your ears will hurt. Like
That's-
if you
yeah.
spend a couple of hours with those earphones on, just not. But the microphone, I mean, the headset on its own costs like €550. Thing you can only buy it directly from Zen. So yeah, when when something breaks, because they have twice actually last year, from what I've heard. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to explain to your producer that, hey, our producer's called Darius. So, telling the producers like, hey, Darius, this headset's actually broken, and you can barely hear the person that's talking to it. I think you could hear this in like midway through season 3. Intero was on the mic, and you could barely hear him because the microphone was broken, because
Yeah.
someone yelled into it, I think, or just used it so hard that it just died.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, I know, like none of us are full on the details here, but there was a lot of technical issues in Sao Paulo.
Oh, okay. So we can talk about those, because I mean, there's some things that I might not be able to talk about, but I can definitely tell you that there was a lot of preparation work, and some things went wrong because, well, obviously it showed on the stream. The big problem is that apparently the arena itself was not set up in terms of wiring to handle the amount of things that wanted to do there. It was not equipped for this kind of. Obviously, there's one thing like doing a local production and then doing the kind of production we were doing.
Oh yeah, I mean this was broadcast globally, so it takes a lot more effort behind it.
Yeah, and a lot more. The wiring that you need for the entire place, the internet connection that is just a different thing that you can't really easily get in the country. The equipment in terms of computers for some players to play on, because I think some of the players were saying our practice PCs aren't that great. Well, when you're in Brazil, being able to get a steady supply of good GPUs is complicated, and then you add on top of that GPU prices have spiked because cryptocurrency and all that stuff. So that on its own is a problem, but I think there was a supply issue with NVIDIA Brazil. Like NVIDIA Brazil were in on, but there was just nothing that they could do about supply, because even shipping it from outside of the country would cause problems because they'll just be stopped at customs, and customs will be like, okay, where is this? And it just causes problems.
Right.
That's one part. The other part is the fact that since the place was not properly equipped, the production crew had usually when you go into events, production crews will spend around 3 days to set up a stage, set up everything, and then that's the first 2 days. And the last day is basically just testing everything, making sure it's all working, and then you get the casters around the afternoon, either the morning or the afternoon. You come in, you test everything with them,
and then the 5 hours to do Intero's hair.
Yeah, basically. Honestly, you'd be surprised. I don't know how Intero does it, but he comes in and he has a beanie on his head, and something I'm considering for Montreal, because it's cold as fuck in Montreal. But if I go to Montreal and I have to put a beanie on my head to not freeze, I don't know what would happen to my hair, because I like my hair. I don't like my hair being covered up by anything. But he does it. He comes in, he gets it done at home, goes to the studio, takes off the beanie, and it's all right there. Like the magic of this stuff that he uses. Like sometimes you'll see him at the start of the show with a very odd, like tiny portion of hair that has a very odd angle. But then, like between maps, you'll see it change, because I ran over to the studio, fixed it for him, and then ran back to the production.
So you're a hairdresser on between maps.
Not even like we'll all do this between us, between all of us, because obviously we're together, so we want everybody to be on point. So we'll run to one another during the show. It's a good thing you can't see that during the broadcast, and we'll go and like make sure that everything's set. Like maybe Kix will have a bit of hair open on one end that's too much. Maybe Intero has. Maybe for me, my collar is correct. Somebody will come in and help me, and it's the best part of working with people that really appreciate the teamwork.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
interesting.
with Brazil, like one of the things is they had to rewire the entire arena.
Mm-hmm.
So rewiring takes a long act. And the day before the event, we were supposed to come in and do rehearsal, which is usually just standing around and doing fuck all as a, you know,
Brilliant.
as a caster, all you do is just literally sit there.
I was gonna say, because I mean, it says a rehearsal, but you're not calling any games, so it's not really a rehearsal for you, is it? It's more the audio technical side of things.
Exactly. That's basically it. Now, sometimes we'll have rehearsals, like more specific ones, because let's say there is a specific segment that they would like to do. So we would just come in and make sure that we have our timing right. So here's the things that we should be scheduled to do. The content itself is just on the fly, as is, tradition basically in any esport. But in terms of here's how we're gonna do the rundown, we have the schedule of the entire show, and we know, okay, so we're gonna start off with introduction. Gonna be on the stage. He's gonna introduce things to people, and then it's gonna cut to casters, for example, say hello to them whilst he runs to the desk. Extremely unnecessary, if you ask, but whatever. A lot of these things, just you need to put them in your head, because we don't do events every other week. We do them every 3 months. Thankfully, year 3 is going to be a big change. So,
I mean, that's one thing we can talk about later, because we touched on it a little last week, and we're both really excited as fans. And I assume you're also excited as a caster and being involved in it as well.
Yeah, like as a caster, I've done a few events in the past, but honestly, nothing as big as the Invitational. At least worked on them as a caster. I've worked on other events, but not as a caster.
I mean, I'll say one thing for sure, because I mean, I'm already planning it. I will see you in Paris.
Oh yes, Paris. I'm sorry if any French people watch, but I have to say, Paris, in terms of a city to go to and spend time, is not it's not a fun time.
No.
Paris is just a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of traffic, everything expensive. I wouldn't even say love, honestly. It's just the tourists, and that's about it.
There probably will be when I'm there.
Yeah, well, that I confirm.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It doesn't really matter where the event is. Wherever there are Siege fans, this happens with every esport I've been in, but especially with Siege, people will be like, you know what? I've always wanted to meet you. Let's go. Let's get some dinner, or let's get something to eat, and let's talk about random stuff. Give me a hug and that kind of stuff. And that's the cool thing about this community, is that everybody, even though you hear a lot of trash talk online, there's a difference between trash talking someone and actually not liking them, because it's a thing. Some people actually take my quote unquote rivalry with Fabian very seriously, and the same thing they do with Intero and Fabian, Pengu and literally anybody in Fabian.
Fabian's just just the worst.
But Fabian just wants beef with everyone. He's not here to be loved.
But that's the thing. He's not really. Honestly, if there's anybody I would fight, it's Fabian, because he's what the hell can he do? But the thing with Fabian is that he just likes to piss people off, and the entire premise of talking to him is just not being fazed by him at all. If moment,
I think we are getting him on after the invitation.
I was just gonna say Fabian is in the Discord.
I'll say this quickly, Fabian. The challenge has been laid down by Milosh. Montreal, you know what to do.
I mean, aren't they doing something like this at the Olympics right now with 2 YouTubers that have to beat the shit out of one another or something? I'd do that, Fabian.
Oh no! Yeah.
I mean,
honestly, Fabian wants to 1v1 me. It's no problem. It'll be very awkward to see 2 fat people square it off in the middle of a normal event. But you know what? if we can do it for charity, then that's fine by me. I've always wanted to come back into to martial arts fighting. So I think for charity and beating up Fabian, I'll do everybody a service.
I mean, I'll back you up, Milosh. Yeah, we'll go, and you can't let a fellow caster down, can you?
There you go.
I was just gonna say I think we missed the perfect opportunity to get Fabian and Milosh on the same episode.
No.
Oh, I know.
That would have been.
You know this thing.
Fabian... I mean, we could just pester Fabian right now in the chat and just say, "Get in the call, get in the call."
No.
Yeah, actually, why not? Let me call him.
But yeah, I don't know. But
wait.
The beef is real.
The beef is real.
Who's your money on?
Ooh.
Nah, I'll beat the shit out of
Milosh.
Easy.
Easy wins for Milosh. Easy elo for Milosh.
Easy for Milosh.
If you ask him about this later, he'll be like, "Oh, I was just jacking," because that's what he would usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably is.
Wow. Ooh, Fabian is toxic confirmed.
He'll call in a bit. Yeah, because he's not playing right now.
No. Oh man.
Oh, this could be fun later, maybe.
You were saying about you were saying something about I don't remember. Oh yeah, about meeting people in real life and the community and that.
Yeah, like meeting people in real life is just a ton of fun. There's no way around the amount of fun that you can have by just going out, meeting the people that you always play with online or talk to online, Twitter and wherever, and just having a normal conversation is a feeling that not really that easy to describe, but you feel like you're actually part of something. Just real, because all the time you hear
a family.
Exactly, like a lot of people will just say, "Oh, we play video game. You just stay at home and do nothing." No, I actually go out quite a bit. Like, just by starting this job here at the ESL, I've gone out more time in a month, like 6 weeks, than I have exactly a month than I have in like an entire year of living as a student in Brussels. So, yeah, this so much more fun than people really cut it out.
Right.
I mean, one thing I spoke to Lazo about when we got him on the show a couple of weeks ago is like, not for all people, but for some people, like when they meet each other for the first time, it's kind of like a bit of an awkward pause between like knowing who's who. Like you have to wait for someone to speak, and you're like, that's who you are.
No, that's funny.
It's like I was speaking to with OneUp's Xbox team. All 5 of them went to the like meetup and shit to sign up properly and all that and do interviews and stuff. And if I recall, I think the only ones who had actually met before would have been Kizza and Willow. And I think it was Kimbe or Nigma put up a story saying like they arrived, and 5 of them like waiting for someone to speak, and then it was like, you're Kimbe. Like you recognize the voice and stuff. Yeah. But like I could just imagine that. Like, could you like? I don't know if anyone has never met before in the pro league teams. I mean, there's got to be someone. So if it does happen, it'll be fun to see.
I mean, probably some of the EU teams, since there was. I mean, there's I mean, Room Factory, right? They're going. They might not. I mean, a lot of the teams have been to LAN before, but there are a few that haven't all been to LAN. So. Yeah,
there's a lot of the French teams have been to LAN. Together or against one another.
Yeah, so the French community is probably the most family. Like, I mean, they all know each other pretty much.
Oh yeah, it's there's a certain way of saying it. I think I've heard it before. It's like the inbreeding within the French Siege community. That all of the big names on the big teams will always switch between them. It's a thing though. It's not just in Siege. It's in Counter-Strike as well, and it's even in Call of Duty. But a lot of players just spend sending player from here to there. It's just a world of their own. The French are used.
That's something that I've seen on PS4 a lot too, is how there's say like 20 to 30 like really good French players, right? And they kind of just all keep like making teams with like one
They're
another
all together.
like, and yeah, they're all like together, and they all like, I don't know, it's funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's...
And then we've also got another huge community. I mean, you can't speak about the French community without mentioning the Brazilian community.
Oh yes.
I mean, the noise in Sao Paulo, even as a spectator, not even at the event, the noise was deafening.
I think you might have your headphones too loud.
Probably.
It was deafening. I'll tell you. I don't want to sound a lot like Matt in this one, but if you've seen like a couple of the posts that I made, like especially on Instagram, you can hear the loud. We were basically, how the whole thing was set up is that you guys would see the stage, and in front of the stage was all the crowd.
Right.
Had to free up more space from the VIP area, like trimmed it in so people would actually fit there. They added like 100 extra seats. Right. Then right above, there's like a 2-story building that they built in. One of them, the ground floor, was all for production. That was a production. And the top, it was divided into 1 part for the Brazilian casters, 1 part for us. Brazilian casters got AC. We didn't. Unfortunately, our AC unit was broken. We had to borrow.
I did see you sweating really heavily. I did. Like, I think I saw some of the images when it cuts to you, Milosh, and you're just like there, soaking wet in the chair.
You should have seen Sean. Sean is like, I don't know if anybody told you this, but he literally had somebody from makeup running up to him when he was on the desk, and the lady would just like tap the sweat away. This is midsummer in Brazil. Weather is like 40 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not used to it at all. I come from the Middle East, so I'm kind of, I can deal with hot weather. But when you tell me, to just stand on the desk or like cast when I have to wear a full suit, there's no other way to say it. But fuck no. There's like there's 2,500 people in there. If you count all the security and all the people and everything, I'm not gonna sit.
That's something that my stepdad used to do. I mean, he's a businessman, but when he does a meeting, right? I mean, obviously you can't really do it at a LAN event of some sort. If you did, I'd wet myself and I'd love it. But basically, he'd put his shirt on and this like suit shirt on, but below he'd just have his pants on to cool down. Because like with the camera, all they could see was his top half. So if he sat there in a meeting, top half dressed, nothing on the bottom half.
Well, this is something that I actually suggested. I told them, guys, I brought shorts for a very good reason.
Yeah.
You wear shorts underneath. Nobody can see it, but you still want to be comfortable. You're going to be sitting there for like 14 hours. 14 hours of deafening noise, of you casting and concentrating on your monitor or on the games and doing analysis, taking notes and all of that. And it's hot as fuck. And there's technical issues. And there's all that frustration. And you don't really have time to sit down and relax because you're always doing something, always engaged. Something. So, it's a lot of work. So I'm saying best thing for us would have been to be comfortable in what we're wearing. Even if we wear shorts, nobody sees them. But Matt is very strict on the whole, BBC, I have to look a certain way. That even, he's going to be on the stage. We're not. So, we have to be much more focused, I believe, in that role than he is. So I don't know why we didn't end up doing that. But I guess whatever. Sometimes the whole professionalism thing kind of, blinds out the fact that we have to work very, very hard during these events and we have to be comfortable. I mean, if you've ever seen CS events, and I've been to quite a few as either like news reporter or doing something around the event, it's just all the casters, if it's summer, they're in shorts. No way will you see anybody doing that. Now, in group stage, for example, when there's
a closed event, there's no people in the stadium, it's okay. But when it's like a 50,000 person stadium filled to the brim with people watching the event, yeah, it's pretty hot. No matter what kind of AC.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean, and I feel like I don't know what it is, but AC is like the most prone thing to break down in all of history. Like I feel like every time I hear about like somebody doing like a lot of labor in a hot place, like it's always like, oh, and the AC was broken. Like I don't know what it is that causes AC to be so
thing ever.
Yeah, it's so inherently prone to breaking constantly.
And it's all where air conditioning worked.
Yeah. Honestly, it explains why. So right now I'm staying in the same apartment Bloodbath was in.
Right.
And they're like no less than 3 or 4 what do you call them? Fans.
Right.
Big fans. And at the start I'm like, that's a bit too many. But seeing the positioning of the like in terms of sunlight, I can only imagine what it'd be like during like here is gonna be extremely complicated to sit down in this exact chair in the so some are probably gonna be like barbecues as an Interos. That I can't. Then he's gonna put like hairs from his are all gonna get and some of the stuff like hanging out. You're still friends with everyone here, so
yeah,
it's a cool part.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. I mean, with Kickstar live streams quite a bit with Intero and I mean other people too as well. So everybody, I mean, seemingly hangs out quite a bit.
Okay. One thing I want to mention that I don't know if it was your decision in it or any of yours in it, Milosh, but the kind of swap there was in the casting in the invitational qualifiers, because instead of it being all just Kix and Tero and all you and Devin, they did change it up, and I think you had a game with Kix, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, and I really like that. Like you and Kix, it's quite a nice combo there.
Yeah, the thing with all 4 of us, we're very open to changing. I think our first idea when we were like the instant we landed in Poland, we're all like, you know what? If we have to switch because somebody's not feeling well or they're very tired or sometimes you just don't feel well when you go to work, right?
Yeah.
With us, sometimes it'll happen well. And we're like, you know what? We're all here. We can help one another out if somebody doesn't feel well. And that was exactly the day. I remember Kix was very tired. You didn't see it in the broadcast. He wasn't able to sleep correctly the day before. And he was very tired before we started the show. So we're like, okay, well, Kix, you're here. Let's just switch everything because I think the second game was an EG game. No, it wasn't because they already were in. I think it was.
It might have been. I think it was Error Reckless. It might have been.
Yeah, and it was Era playing, and Intero really wanted to cast that game. Or like, sure, go ahead. So we have our own preferences. Obviously, there are some casters that are just better at knowing certain teams, certain players compared to others. So we're more than open to have people that are really good at what they do, excelling even more. And this is why we were happy to change. It ended up with Devin Parker casting together and myself and Kix. Now, casting with Kix was very interesting. I've always kind of wanted to do that. It was different because the way of analyzing things that Kix brings to the desk is very different than what Devin does. Because Kix obviously has his experience as a professional player, and obviously when I say Kix as a professional player, that was a year and a half ago. And a year and a half ago, the game is completely different.
Well, I mean, it's fair to say he's not washed up at all, is he? Though.
Oh no, he's not washed up, but it's a big difference between like having been a pro in the early days of the game now, and you can see it with teams like Flipside now, well, ex Flipside, that have kind of fallen off, and Rogue to some extent haven't really been excelling like everybody was expecting them to. So it's kind of starting to get to the point where, sure, you might have been there from the start, but there's a lot of space for people to replace you if you're not good enough. So you better be on your toes. And this is where we are right now. Whereas back in Kix's days, wasn't really the case. You could get away with a lot of.
The game was nowhere near as big either.
Oh yeah.
Like, especially, I mean, look at the orgs we've had come into the game recently. We've had FaZe, Liquid, Counter Logic. I mean, and the
team I absolutely love. So you have all of that, and sure, it's a completely different game. Finally, we have the big structure around the game. More will come in the future, I can tell you that, and it's going to be exciting because there's something that not a lot of orgs understand now.
Okay.
Because like buying out teams and buying out players from one org to the other costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because the business side, it's a rare thing that anybody would ever talk about the business side of esports, but
I was gonna say, because I kind of want a refund on my Flipside charm.
I have all of them, so maybe I want a refund for all of them, right? But the business side of esports is, you are an organization with sponsors behind you. You want to get exposure. That is your biggest. Winning is one thing. It obviously gets you the most exposure, right? Look at Penta after winning year 2 season, or what now we will call season 4.
Right.
We're no longer going to go with the whole year, whatever. It confuses. So when they won season 4, it was huge. Yeah, I remember Pengu when he started. He would stream with like 200-300 viewers. Then he just jumped
he gets
to
like 2K easily. No,
that's after. Yeah, that was after season 4. He immediately went to 1K, consistently always 800 to 1K, and now he's always over 2K.
One thing I want to mention though is in my opinion, Pengu's best ever game was casted by you. That 20 kill game against Font.
It was a 23 kill game. He went off. It's odd because the map before they played Border was terrible for him.
Really,
he was 0-7, and I think he got 1 kill on the last round.
Mm-hmm. He really played badly then, and then next game goes off, goes ham. It was absolutely insane, and it's going to be very difficult for any game to top.
I think that match point, the 4K with smoke, I think I remember your words exactly. It's like, speaking of Pengu shooting people here, just runs down and just takes everybody out with the SMG.
Yeah, and I even asked him about this. Like, what was going through your mind when you actually did that? Because obviously you weren't really in a spot for it, but what had happened is that they hear the information above, and I
mean, I don't know if you've seen his analysis video he did shortly after that. He said he'd been playing the top of those stairs for 2 minutes and they never droned it out.
Yeah,
never.
They never.
He said Fabian died, and Fabian was telling him to drop back.
But he said, "No, fuck it, I want to go."
Yeah, I'm staying here. I'll stay here. And then Fabian just started making calls, like 1 pushing, 2 pushing, 3 pushing, and so on.
Yep, yeah. That's basically it. And that's what he explained to us, like the instant the game finished. Because he couldn't even believe it, but they just like ran in. Usually, you would see, especially from Font, there's at least one person droning in front of their push every single time. It's 101 of how you should play, and it's 101 how they play. But they didn't do it, and the one time they didn't, it was insane. Like that highlight will be ingrained in my mind.
That's the thing. About a good team like Penta, though, is, like you said, the one time you make a mistake, like not droning, the one thing you need droned, Penta are going to recognize and take advantage of it. So, or a good team, like any good team, like Penta. And also, one thing like that a lot of people might not know, like maybe you realize it, but you don't know exactly why. in a situation like that, and especially since Pengu had been getting tons of kills throughout that game too, like he was on 10 kills after 3 rounds, right? The reason that like it's so hard to win it, like he gets the first 2 or first 3 kills, the third person pushing into that is just has zero confidence that they're going to win that gunfight. And the reason is because after getting a couple kills like that, you get like a massive adrenaline boost, and your reaction times are super heightened, and your fine motor skills.
After the first 3 or 4 like rounds, you can see who's going to be the standout player of the game.
Right.
I mean, when I play, I mean, I'm usually a support player, right? I don't do much kills wise, but I had this. I was playing in a scrim. This was a couple of months ago. I think I was playing Castle and Zofia, and after the first couple of rounds, I was just doing really well. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a game I do well in. I think I finished that game like 16-4, just because like you kind of know if you're going to perform after the first few rounds.
You just have really good moments. I had that yesterday. I had a game in Consulate, and I'm turning into a Legion main. Like honestly, all I'm playing in defense is Legion.
Legion is the best though. I think Legion is such an underrated operator. He's brilliant.
I mean, we'll see with his recent buff at Invitational, but
it's even better now. If you thought he was good before, he's even better now. Even just playing him in rank, and a map like Consulate where all you have to do is hold yellow stairs, you will destroy a team. Like,
I mean, it's one of my favorite things. Just holding that yellow stairs down with Legion, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you just pick off everybody because you have a perfect angle. You can just sit behind the pillar. Nobody can shoot you from anywhere. The window, yeah, sure, but
you have an ADS to cover.
They chuck in grenades, no problem. The ADS, they can't even shoot it. They can't get an angle on you. And if they drone you out, doesn't really matter because they still have to jump in and attack you. And you already have your traps that are laid out correctly. And that's it.
Right.
So, yeah, still, favorite operator to play. And I can't wait to see like how a few players use him at the Invitational, because I think a lot of people...
Fair. I think you're a better Legion than Fabian, just saying. I'd like to clear that up. I mean, we've seen Fabian on that Legion a few times. I mean, not really many notable players playing it, really, aside from Fabian. I can't really think of many.
A lot of people tried it, but the problem is Legion is not an easy operator to play because he's so technical.
Is really good, though.
Yeah, I mean... Sure, you can play him, you can get frags with him, but you can get frags with literally any operator. The whole thing is, how do you use the utility that is put forward to you?
I think the thing about Legion is it requires a lot of cognitive presence. Like, you really need to pay attention to what Legion traps are getting hit. You can see, like, through the walls, obviously, the little indicator. And if you're really good at paying attention to where the enemies are, like which Legion traps are getting shot out, like where they're pushing and stuff like that, I think it really can help you win a round or just get like a bunch of kills.
Yeah, if anything, you'll be getting more assists than even kills. So my Legion life is like, I had this yesterday, it was like 10 kills, 4 deaths, and like 7 assists.
Yeah.
Because all you do is just, throw out goo mines, somebody's going to get tagged through them, you shoot a couple bullets through the wall into them, and then what can they do? They're too low on HP to do anything, and you've already tagged them. So, still favorite to play, but I really want to see it like transcend just, there's just a couple people that do it. Want it to turn into it's an actual professional player.
He's an important part. Like he's an important part of the meta. That's how I want to see it.
I'm excited. Though I think the main reason that he hasn't been getting picked a ton is just the simple fact that it's hard to replace anybody in the main lineup right now. I mean, it's hard to replace Mira on almost every site in the game. It's hard to replace an operator like Smoke just in bomb game mode in general. I mean, Ella is just too good to put off your roster right now. And, operators like Bandit and Jaeger and, whatever else you might be running just bring a lot of helpfulness depending on the site.
Okay, and, so this is where I want to go deep in. Because I rarely get to do that as a play-by-play.
Yeah.
But
and you do with us.
Yeah, one thing, though. If you remember the cast that I did with we were talking about it. It was a console game, and somebody picked an Echo. I'm like, somebody picked an Echo. That's not something that we've been seeing at all. Like, it was literally
Not on console, no.
Yeah, and in general, we played that entire week, and nobody played Echo except for like once or twice an entire week. That's a bit of an oddity, and it came to my mind that, I think we're heading into a spot where, with the current operators, there is the ability for different teams with different combinations to actually play a completely different play style. Now, when I said that, and I said, I think Vigil can replace an Echo for a lot of teams they want to use. And Kix's reaction, Vigil. No, Legion is your overall support, but that's the thing. When I said Vigil replacing Echo for some teams in the way that they operate, it was a kickback for Kix because he didn't really understand what I was talking about, and a lot of people thought it was extremely weird. And you do when I say this to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But hear me out. Here's the point.
All right.
We've been stuck for the past 2 years in teams that just, we want to delay. We'll just play. We're just gonna play Smoke with Echo that was later added, right?
Right.
It's a very good combo. It just means that you can delay as much as you would like. The thing is, this forces your team to play super passive, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to play super passively, not all teams can do that. There are some teams that are built to be aggressive, and you will see that reflected in their operator compositions. They'll play operators that really work well with their playstyle. Now, when you get forced to play a Smoke and Echo, you'll play, you have a Jaeger, you'll Bandit, Ella, that kind of stuff. It forces you to turtle play. That's not what a lot of teams like to do, or some teams like. Some of them like to be aggressive. They want to go for quick peaks. They want to play a Legion, a Vigil, a Smoke maybe still, and an Ella, and they'll pretty much only play 2 and 3. Right. That's when you have Vigil, it allows you to play a similar either on-site deceiver, so basically just holding the site on your own as an anchor,
right,
or just roaming around because, well, obviously drones can't see you because you can kind of time we're going to be trying to drone you out. This allows a lot of teams to play the Vigil instead of playing an Echo, but it also allows them to completely change their playstyle. Because when you play a Vigil on a professional team, you play completely different operators than you would if you had an Echo, right? Because the Echo needs people to support him. Or else on his own, sure, he's got a good gun, but that's about it. Your mate get 1 kill. That's not your job. But it's about allowing different teams and different players the ability to play in a style that they would be more comfortable. I think that's the way where Siege is trying to go. Is that you won't see a lot of operators that can do the same thing. It's just operators that can either complement one another or complement certain play styles.
Right.
I don't know if my point got across, but it's just a different way of playing things for teams that didn't really like to play the whole super defensive Smoke. Because you'll see a lot of teams that will pull out your defensive play with Echo, Smoke, Jaeger, etc., but they'll play it terribly because that's not how they want to play. They want to play a lot more aggressive.
Yeah. Also, you really need a specific type of player to be very good with Echo, and it's definitely. I mean,
Echo takes patience to play.
Yeah.
I play a bit of Echo myself, and it takes a lot of patience in order to play him.
Yeah,
you need to be very careful with your yokai drone.
It's also you need to be constantly paying attention to callouts and knowing where to position your Echo drone and timing your your blast. Like if you're trying to deny plant, like you need to be counting out the seconds and stuff like that to get the most utility out of your drone, right? So there's a lot of different things that goes into being a good Echo player, and like you said, I don't think all teams have a player who's suited for Echo, and I agree with the fact that maybe putting a player on Vigil instead could waste a similar amount of time and have, to some degree, the same utility.
yeah, it's just a different way of playing your, going with this setup. And it's not an easy thing for, like you'll see some teams that just really don't know how to play video. They'll either roam too much, they won't know when to converge back on a site when they need to actually protect it
Right.
from plants. And they might just be happier with playing your standard defense without relying on a very technical operator, even though Echo is still a very, very technical operator. The thing with Echo, though, is not just that you need to know how to how to position yourself and get the information from your
Right.
team, but what you also need to do is basically, how I put this, like, you have to have teammates that can support you in your role, because, and I've had this talk with a few few pros, and we got to the conclusion that it's not an easy thing playing Echo, because you need to rely on your teammates a bit too much.
Right.
For most players. Obviously we're not playing ranked, you're playing Pro League. There's a certain level of play that's very different. So you need to have your teammates that can give you the correct information for you to be able to play your best. So it's I don't know, it's a complicated operator to play, and I think very few people can actually use Echo to its full potential.
Right. Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, that's the thing. I mean, there have been players in the past who are really good Echoes, but another thing is, like, not necessarily every player who would make a good Echo wants to be that type of operator. Like, maybe they're also a really good aggressive player, but they just also have the patience that it takes to play Echo and stuff like that. So yeah, there's not necessarily always room for an Echo on the team. So
it's a very technical talk,
Right.
and it's even more of just a technical talk. It's an extremely niche technical talk, because not everybody can understand the I don't know, like the fine line between these kinds of, like, different ways operator can be played by different players that have just different personalities. This is something that just recently a lot of the big teams have started to understand, that if I'm an in-game leader, and this is something that harks back to Fabian, the way he plays, that he knows that every single one of his players has a strength and a weakness. He'll give them the leeway to play something that they are comfortable in as well, which
Right.
is something that not a lot of in-game leaders know how to do.
Yeah.
And part of it is allowing them to play operators that mesh really well with the playstyle, and then coming up with the combos that work well with your entire.
Yeah. I think he does have a unique ability to be able to like understand what would work best, like very on the fly. Like I recall seeing one of Pengu's videos where which contains some of the comms from a Pro League match they played, and it's stuff like where Fabian would say, "Oh, KS go do this and go do this," and then he'd realize, like, "Oh no, like swap that around, like you go do that," just because of, like, I think he has, like you said, a good understanding of the strengths and the weaknesses and what is most likely to succeed in any given situation.
Yeah, this is you need to get to know the personality of your players. So this is something that's underrated, but a lot of teams have started to do it, at least the bigger teams. Like, for example, teams that go to boot camp are not only going to boot camp because they want to practice, play together all the time. It's because they want to hang out as well.
Right.
You want to get to know the people that you're playing, and it's part of the bonding. You see a lot of players that, to bond together, they will play other games together just for fun.
Right.
And it just means that they're more comfortable with knowing one another. You can kind of predict what a person would do within a competitive setting, because you know how their personality usually It's going really deep into the meta game of a professional team. But you see, like, big tier professional teams in Counter-Strike and League of Legends, for example, have a psychologist. They have dietitian, etc. It's all part of your whole ecosystem to make sure that the team runs well. And it's because it's been done in your normie sports, and it's been proven that it has a pretty big effect on the system, to the point where us as casters as well are working on it now.
Yeah.
Because we realize it helps us out a lot to make a better show and a better product for everybody that's watching.
Right. Yeah, I that's one thing that's like one thing that you mentioned, like that it's the same as in normal sports. And I mean, we don't need to go into the debate on whether or not esports is a sport or not, but or is the same as a conventional sport. But I think a lot of, like, a majority of the same core concepts of sports apply to most esports, and especially Siege, in terms of how to improve your team play and how to like communicate and stuff like that is valuable. And
I think even in esports, there's no point in us even trying to argue that, we waste so much time on trying to argue, is it really a sport? Is it whatever? Doesn't matter. What matters is that there is an extremely similar, if not exactly this kind of pressure that you face as a professional esports player and a professional sports player. And the way that you adapt to these things are pretty much the same thing. Right. I might have a bit of a bigger say in this because I've had parts of my thesis revolving around this concept. I've had a few projects as well with university, especially like medical team support around this kind of point of view. And I had to explain this to people that have no idea what esports is, why we should be interested as medical professionals in esports. As my background is optometry, I'm almost an optometrist. And so my work was trying to figure out what the effects of video games are on eyesight, but also provide a baseline for people that are just eyesight professionals to start looking into this as a move into visual training for players. Because for sports players, this happens in football, this happens in rally, in F1, etc. You always have a medical team around your around your sports team. And fortunately for myself, one of my professors was one of that. He actually coaches a lot of Belgian and Dutch, what do you call it, like rally car drivers in F1. And he has been with them to races where he has measured the of these high stress situations and gotten to the point to say we can calculate the amount of effort, the amount of stress, negative stress in this case, that a professional has to go through, and now we know the baseline for actual practice. And it's a very similar thing with esports, as I was able to find out. Unfortunately, my work is nothing but a baseline, and if there are any optometrists out there that would ever want to get in this, please let me know, because I think this is extremely important as someone that is super into esports, and I think it's a future. Big teams should start getting into this. Maybe not in Siege yet, but
one thing I want to know is, I hear a lot of rumors about it saying that they have considered it as the esports in the Olympics, or having its own sort of event like the X Games.
They're already doing it. Literally today, it was day one of the Olympics. I think they started this morning, because this is happening in Pyeongchang in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the South Korean capital, isn't it?
yes, well, it's right outside of Seoul. It's not that far away from Seoul.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually have friends that are working there. And fortunately, I was able to meet last week with a representative of the Olympics who was here in Katowice. So, you guys have heard of Ubisoft's game Steep.
Yeah.
It's, for people that don't know, it's basically like snowboarding and skiing and everything within a video game. And it is considered an Olympic game, officially Olympic game. And they had a tournament for this game here in Katowice last week that was hosted by Matt Andrews. So it's a very very familiar face for us in the Siege scene. And they had a great event. Everything worked fine. Then I went out and basically spent the night with everybody there because there were quite a few of my friends that were working at the event. So we just hung out. And I got to meet this great person from the Olympic teams, a British person. And he explained to me, what they're doing with Steep and that they see Steep as an Olympic game. And it is indeed in the Olympics alongside StarCraft 2, for example. So esports are definitely going to be in the Olympics. They've already been, scheduled to be that. I think it was announced like a year and a half ago. And they are just going to make do on that promise. But it's like, where will the future go? What do we know with, like, maybe will happen with Siege? And I think a bigger question, does it really need to happen?
Yeah.
Because, you think about the audience. Us as an audience, do we really care if, esports is seen as Olympic thing or not?
I mean, with esports, obviously, I'm obsessed with the esports of Siege. It's the game I play the most, and obviously, I love watching the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brilliant, and the amount of money that is going into that it's ridiculous. But
you should see the amount of inspiration that we're getting from Overwatch. There's going to be a lot of changes for year 3.
People are talking about obviously the CS:GO scene. I can't get into the CS:GO scene. I don't know why. I just can't get into it.
What's stopping you from doing it? Like, did you watch the major from last week?
Last week? No, I hear everyone talking about it, saying it was like the greatest game ever, but I haven't watched that yet.
I highly recommend watching. Now, for me, it still isn't the best game ever. I think there was a better game from MLG Columbus at 2015. I think that major had a better game with Navi SK. Their game on Overpass was really insane. But the Cloud9 game that we had last week was really, really good. And it's a testament as to why a lot of people like esports in general, but especially CS, because with CS, you have a very raw experience of what esports is. It's not the same with Siege. Siege is a difficult game for your standard viewer. It's not an easy game to understand.
Just pick up and get into.
Exactly. It's daunting. It's a daunting challenge. That's why we like it, right? Because you're like, if you pulled off a great play, you did it because you outsmarted your opponents. Unless you play Ella, but you know that you've outsmarted people when you were able to pull off a great play because you either had the timing, the aim, the positioning, the knowledge, all of that, or the teamwork and cohesion. That's why we love it. We love it.
That's one thing.
It's not an easy thing for everybody.
Yeah. That's one thing I notice, because personally I cast the PS4 Major League in that, and I get a lot of comments when I upload the VODs to YouTube, and I get a lot of commenters on stream when I'm actually live with the matches, and a lot of people don't realize, like, the players themselves may not individually be, like, the best team in like you say Penta, all 5 of the players on Penta aren't the 5 best players in the world, but the way they play together is a uniquely impressive and skillful way of playing. And that's one thing that people, even people who play Siege a lot, don't realize when watching the competitive games, is they don't realize how coordinated and impressive all the different pushes and attacks and defenses and how all the players communicate are, because it's not something that you really, it doesn't get shoved in your face because you can't hear the player comms and stuff like that. And
I don't know why. If I kind of feel like I think that should be something we have, like maybe an insight into comms as they're playing, or would that give too much away?
It's a bit of a hot topic.
Yeah,
I don't think we need comms. I think we've tried comms. There was a couple years ago. That was especially a thing in 2014, 2015, where a lot of tournaments were giving insight into comms. You would listen to the comms, but at the end of the day, it ended up turning into players needed to think about what they're saying and how they're saying it, because some people might view things, it might not be an insult, but just the way that they say it, some people will comment on it no matter what it is, and you just don't want to get into the complications.
I don't want to sound like offensive myself when I say this, but just as like an instance, say if you're having a stress day when you're playing and you're playing ranked and stuff and you die, you might slip out saying, "Oh yeah, this faggot killed me" and stuff. Some people may take that offensively, so that would be a downside of it. Obviously, you don't mean no harm by it. It's just like a kind of a sigh of anger, sort of.
That's one thing. Yeah, if I play against somebody I know, because I stream most of the time I'm playing ranked, right? So if I play against somebody who recognizes me, a lot of the time they'll go into my stream afterwards and then watch back the game from my perspective. And a lot of the time when somebody kills me, I'll say something like, "Oh, this guy's terrible," or something like that, just out of frustration, not because the player actually if I just get killed from something completely stupid, there's just a guy crouched in some random corner in some random room on the map that's not even close to the objective. I'm like, why is this guy so stupid, or something like that? And then people will watch back my stream and they'll be like, "Oh wow, this guy," they'll think that I'm being a really a bit of an asshole just because I'm talking shit to them when I die to them. But it's like you said, it's you don't think about how you say things. It's just like a spontaneous reaction.
It just happens in the moment.
And in a Pro League match, if you're in the grand finals of a Pro League match, then you maybe don't want a player being like, "Oh, this guy's so shit," or "Oh, I killed that guy, he's so bad," or something like that, because there's thousands of people watching, and
especially Fabian. Fabian's just toxic in general. Do not let that anywhere near him.
That's just how he is. Now, the thing is, this is something that I really like with the Overwatch League, is that when they give you access to comms, they already know what those comms are.
Yeah.
And they'll give you a listen in between the maps and stuff like that.
I wish that was a thing for Siege.
Yeah, but they can actually go around and edit whatever they need.
Right.
They can not show what they don't want to show. Have you listen to?
I say, wasn't there a if I remember correctly, I mean, there's been a lot of controversy in the Overwatch League. You had XQC getting suspended for for telling one of the gay players of Houston Outlaws to suck a dick. You had one of the Spitfires players flipped off the camera, and it looked like he was aiming it at the viewers, but he was actually aiming it at one of the production people to see if they could hear him and stuff. He was just putting it up to show he could hear them.
Yeah, we have those as well. There's a lot of backs.
Yeah. Is there
I've seen all of those things, and this is why in-game comms, as interesting as they might be for your outside viewer, I think they just get too invasive. They cause more problems that they solve.
I think...
Remember, there was a major that had this with CS, and they had comms available for every team and every player on specific streams that they had opened.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't working. They turned it off afterwards because they realized it just caused.
Right. Yeah, they have done that in the past. There have been times in the past where they show off like audio clips from certain maps. It's normally around, Canadian. There are some clips of Canadian shouting stuff at LAN, that they've showed off at LAN, right? Previously.
Yeah.
And I remember actually, one of the, like, it really goes back to what you mentioned earlier about how people say things. There's this clip that BK, the head admin of ESL, posted where after Penta beat Elevate in the grand finals of Year 2 Season 2, Fabian stands up and shouts something, after they win. But since BK was like right behind them and recording them on his phone, you could hear it very clearly in the video, and Fabian just stands up after they beat Elevate, and he just shouts, "So fucking easy," or something like that. And it's funny because like it's a really it's like you said, it's probably could be taken offense to, especially by the players on Elevate, but it's just
honestly,
something.
I don't think the Elevate players would actually take.
No, not those
I think
players
they would do the same
specifically.
thing to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not those
I think they
players.
would just do the same thing. Imagine you've come up and you won a grand final. You have so much energy after that.
Right.
You basically have a peak of energy, and then you flatline, and you go to sleep immediately after. That's
Right.
pretty much everybody when they win a final. And it's a thing as well. If Elevate would have won, or any team, not gonna put words in anybody's, but still, if you win, you have so much energy, you will go up and shout. You will shout just random stuff because that's it. That's how you are.
Yeah, I think like a thing with it being Elevate made it a bit easier, and maybe not a lot of people saw the Twitter clip, but if that was something you could hear like on stream or something that was more publicized, and say it was against like a Brazilian team like Font or FaZe,
no, I don't even imagine.
Yeah, or like a French team or something like that, somebody with like a very passionate fan base, and then you have somebody shouting "so fucking easy" after winning a grand finals, that probably wouldn't go over as well. So that's the kind of thing.
It just wouldn't at all, would it? Like, you just picture that. It's something like Liquid against Penta in the finals. Like, say, like Penta 10-0'd them. Fabian stands up and just goes, "GG easy." The entire Brazilian community would just slaughter him.
Well, the Fabian did get a lot of heat in Season 1 when he said, didn't they play? Yeah, they played the grand finals against, at the time it was Black Dragons, right? Which is now a completely...
Yeah. Turned into BRK, and now is...
Part Liquid, essentially.
Yeah, but at the time it was Black Dragons, and I remember Fabian said something like, "Oh, I think we're the better team," or "I think we're going to win," or something like that. He said that on stage.
He said, it's... He said something like, I mean, yeah, you should be happy. You're
the second best team. Yeah, that's what he said.
That I was the only one. Like, nobody understood what he actually said, but I'm like, holy shit! I'm the only guy that actually screamed in the arena. Like, holy shit, dude! That's a fucking good comeback. I love that.
Yeah.
And then, like, Zig didn't know what to say. He's like, holy shit. That was pretty good. I can't reply anything to it.
Yeah.
But it's the trash talk before a match. And that's something that, if every single time you have something on your mind that you want to say, or something that players usually do, and you have to explain it to everybody so it doesn't or rub different people in other ways, like ways that you really explain. This is why you don't really see a lot of players that'll talk about their own experiences with other players. Like where we hung out and what we did, and where we went.
Yeah.
Because some players, or what we said, some people might just look at it and say, "Oh, this is, this is not cool and everything." And no, you do the same thing with your friends, right?
Right.
So how can you even judge? I don't know. This is a reason why I think we shouldn't have comms, and it's a reason why a lot of pros do not talk about their personal stuff at events publicly. That is, like, if you see the environment between players when they're at events, it is super friendly. A lot of people are going to get to know that with the Invitational, because obviously this is going to be much bigger than last year.
Yeah.
And you'll see how they all act. If you go to an after party, literally everybody is hanging out because people like it's not a stage of toxicity and people that are just bad or not fun to stick around with. Even there's I don't even think there is anybody like that in the professional tier Siege. Nobody even talks, but most of the time it's just, hey, let's all hang out because we're part of the same crew. We need to stick together because we love and hate the same thing.
Right.
We should be part of the same big family, especially in sharing our stories.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know. I really I see everything you're saying with how comms are not necessarily a good idea and sometimes it can be executed well, but at the same time there's this little part of my mind where I'm it'd be really fun to listen to the players' comms though. But
No.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I don't think it's worth the.
No, yeah, I agree.
What's the?
Maybe it could just it could be just me. They could open a private live stream for just me where I can also do the players' comms.
Oh no, let me come. I want to chill there.
Yeah, like a pay-per-view.
I probably should say, right, never, ever, ever watch a VOD with me. Because, if that VOD, for example, if it was that, Sisu versus Barrage one, the 10-0, the game may have been 48 minutes, right? I would have spent 3 hours analysing that shit. Do not watch a VOD with me. It will never end. I will analyse and pick apart every single kill, every single frag in everything.
That's the caster thing. You can't get it out of your head because you start analyzing everything and you're like, what am I doing with my life? You can't. You actually cease to enjoy a lot of things as a caster because you can only see the bad things in them or the things that aren't done correctly.
Right.
Especially when you listen back to yourself, because then you're like, you're your own biggest critic. When you turn blind to the mistakes that you make, that's a problem. It's not an easy thing as a caster to review your own work. And I think a few casters, especially within Siege, have struggled a lot with it, even though
a lot of people ask for help and for information. Please don't die on me.
Yeah, I'm just having a tough time here.
I'm just gonna mute my mic temporarily because I'm actually I'm gonna leave the call for about 5 minutes to get a glass of water quickly. I'm actually dying here. I'll be back in about 5 minutes,
right.
If that.
So here's the thing: as a caster, sure, you want to get peer reviews and a lot of peer feedback.
Right.
I think that's really the most important thing. But if you yourself seem to be immune to people giving you feedback on the good things and the bad things that are happening, and also you don't even review your own stuff, then it causes a lot of problems. Like with me and Emzo here, we hadn't casted in ages. And if you watch our first game we casted and our last one we casted, it was completely different, night and day.
Yeah.
In terms of the quality itself, because we noticed early on we had a problem where we would talk about, we love theory crafting, Devin and I. So if you give us the ability to theory, we will take it to the max. Right. But there's a lot of times in the first couple casts where we start talking about things that really make sense, but they're so far off of what's actually happening during the game that it was causing problems for welcome back. It was causing a lot of problems for viewers that really want to understand what we're talking about, and we start toning that down at the end, and we actually find a way together to cast theorycraft, but also theorycraft whilst focusing on what's happening in the game itself. And it's not an easy balance to find, especially when you're working with your friends, and you're all really focused on having fun.
Oh, Fabian's in chat, yo.
Yeah. Okay. So Fabian was flying. That's why he sent.
He was flying.
That's why he wasn't on. Yeah. He told me what did you call me? I was flying. So it's probably on his way somewhere.
Does that mean he was playing Ella? or literally flying.
No, he was literally in a plane.
Okay. But I just wanted to mention. One
I just
of the
want to
things...
mention that Ghost has made room for Fabian to join now.
I keep turning it up and down, but
Hey,
I was just gonna say one of the things that like it's a bit. I guess it's a bit off topic from what you were talking about. But one of the things I run into when I cast a lot is I have this obsessive desire to analyze every little thing. And it causes me to over-explain stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, this is a cool setup. Here's what they're trying to do with this. And then I'm talking about it for 2 minutes, and suddenly, like, half the round is gone. So, like, you get pulled out of it, because then kills start
there's
happening,
like, it's a 1v1 situation, and you haven't called any of the kills.
No, but the thing is, like, I always get cut off, because, like, one kill happens, and then I have to, like, call that out, and then stuff keeps happening. And this is something that I notice in Pro League, too, like you know, in Taro or anybody really, like Milosh will be analyzing something, and then suddenly something happens, and you kind of just have to stop, even though it was really interesting what you were talking about.
unfortunately, that's what happens when you're just casting. That's why a analysis desk exists. It doesn't exist for regular games, unfortunately, but we're going to try to find a way to remedy that problem. Like year 3 is going to have a lot of cool things that we're going to add. And one of them is adding more flavors to the show, and you know, maybe we'll have an extra show day or something to do something completely different. And that's something that people should look out for, because we have a lot of ideas, and thankfully work with a lot of creative people at ESL that are
I mean, eventually, obviously, you should just get us two in as podcast creators, or you know, analysis.
honestly, like, this is the thing. Siege needs a lot of podcasts. We want to create an official one, which is why obviously we started trying out, seeing the response. Yeah, I wanted to see the response. But when we got the response, we're like, maybe it's time to actually pitch this to our boss and tell him, hey, here's our ideas. What do you think about this? And our boss is, you know, very open person, these kinds of new projects, especially when he has...
One thing I've noticed is that we actually haven't received a negative response at all in the first 3 episodes. Like, if you go back and look, like, we haven't really received anything negative. Everything's been positive, and everyone seems to be enjoying what we do. Which, obviously, if people are enjoying it, it makes us enjoy it a bit more when we do it. Because, I mean, we love it. We just love getting someone on, have a conversation about a game we both love. And it's great fun. So, you know, we want to continue doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I highly recommend that you continue doing it, because there definitely is a need. And
we originally started it up as Helby was the one that actually asked for it. Like, we both saw a post saying that he thought that there's not really podcast-related material and that someone should grab it. And Ghost said, yeah, I'd be down to do that if someone would do it with me. And then I hit Ghost up, and I was like, yeah, you know, that's something that I'd love to do as well. Maybe we can work something out and try and get things running. And then a little over a month later, we're recording our first episode.
Yeah, I remember that in December, actually, on Twitter. And I think I replied to it, like, soon, because, you know, at that point, we really had the idea. We want to implement it with a normal Pro League setup. Obviously, very different having a standard podcast. Podcast allows you to talk about a lot of different things with a little to no restrictions. Whereas when we're doing something official, we have to do it in a way where our production team also is not is actually able to help us out and do a good job. Yeah. It's not an easy balance to find, but I think we've gotten to a correct point right now, and we're ironing detail we're able to push it through for the start of it. If somebody here is a big fan of just production quality or Pro League, and all you want is more Pro League, more talk about Siege and the competitive scene, then there's a lot of, obviously the podcast, a lot of people that are trying to getting into it, like you guys, but also on the official end from us. Yeah, It's going to be a ton of fun. It's very cool to just sit down, because this is what we do. Like, I'm telling you, I spent a couple of days this week where Kix would just come to my place. We'd go get some food. We'd get some stuff done in the city, and then we'd come back. And we just spend like a couple of hours talking about strategies and team, going through the invitation. You know, what's happening in the back, team offer. You know, all these things that are super interesting in the esports production and business side. It's what we really love to do, and I'm excited for at least the Invitational, because the Invitational is going to be great. If you think the Invitational is going to be amazing, then just look at every season. Every season we have had.
One thing I have to say is, Ghost, you better be coming to Paris, because I am 110% going. I mean, I'm gonna have to drag I'm gonna have to drag someone along with me, because I think I'm too young to attend alone. I mean, my dad's not gonna let me go to Paris by myself, so I'll have to bring a babysitter or something like that. You know,
we need to go to Paris and then record a bunch of live episodes of the podcast.
Honestly, there's a lot of things that can be done there. Ubisoft and ESL are always more than happy to help content creators that are at events. Not only official ones, like sometimes we'll have newspapers, official TV that comes in and has interviews, but there's a lot of independent content creators that go in, and this is something policy with ESL, not just with Siege. Pretty much every game that you see, if you follow around their social media team and basically the marketing team well around this whole idea, then you'll see how many requests they get for every event, and there's definitely a lot of things that can be done. So if you're into this, coming into Invitational or any Pro League LAN, especially the Paris major.
The reason I say Paris more than Montreal, I've got to get flights, hotel.
Yeah, it's much more difficult.
It's very expensive. But for me, I live in Folkestone, which is where the Channel Tunnel is, so I can get to Calais really cheap, and then it's a case of just getting from Calais to Paris, which shouldn't be too difficult.
Pretty easy, actually. Transport system is very... it's definitely much cheaper than in the UK. From what I hear,
my dad's already told me when my dad went to Paris a couple of years ago. He's like, yeah, like the tube system, it's a lot easier to see and stuff. It's But yeah, so if I can attend, I will 100%.
I was just about to say, perhaps depending on how the podcast goes and how much it grows by that time, perhaps we could get invited too. But I'm not going to get my hopes up quite yet.
It'll be a dream, I think. There'll be one of those moments where it's like, pinch me.
Yeah.
Pinch me and I'll wake up.
We'll have to slide into some DMs and start begging Ubisoft now, just to
Ubisoft,
get
send us to Paris. Send us to Paris.
Yeah, get the groundwork done.
Ubi are open to a lot of things. I think an important thing that I learned with games companies, especially with Ubisoft, is that you never lose anything from ads. And I've been blessed with a lot of community managers and people within the companies I've worked with or had relationships with that are extremely generous, and I wouldn't put it besides Ubisoft that they would help as much as they can with anything that may be. I think quite a few of us within the esports scene can confirm that all of these allegations. Other than that, one thing though, you're talking about analyzing everything and going deep into strategy. Invitational is just around the corner.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna be spending so much time doing everything there, like so much that I might even need help.
We're gonna. I don't even know what Invitational is gonna be like in terms of,
Like, you want to start calling it
special?
You want to start calling it? Because I already called it.
You already called it?
I already talked about, I had extremely long talks about this
all the groups and everything.
Long nights on Netflix with Kickstarter actually regarding this. Since he's the only one here, unfortunately, I wish all four of us were here so we can talk about it.
Okay,
But basically,
that's definitely a plan for a future. I don't care. That's a plan, 100%. All four of you lot and us two. That'd be nice.
they were pretty good. I mean, Intero would hog everything because
yeah, but that's
his hair on
just
its
him.
own.
That's just who he is. Though you can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
It's like if you saw some guy put in Twitter, I put, "Wow, great first 10 minutes to the podcast. We're already talking about Intero's hair."
Yeah, I mean, it's Intero's hair. It's pretty fucking amazing. I'll tell you.
It is.
It's the thing here. When Parker tells me, "Oh, keep your beard," it's actually pretty good. I get that tingly feeling inside. Parker proving it.
I think yours is the only first name I don't know. You've got Devin, Michael, Parker, and I always forget yours.
Mine is very complicated to say. That's why people just call me Milosh, but it's Ghassan.
Yeah,
exactly, Ghassan. It's much more complicated to say for most people, so I'll just go with me. Yeah. Honestly, at this point, the only people that haven't called me Milosh are my parents, and even they are not that far away. So much easier name.
Can your parents say your name right? or do they get it wrong?
Yes, but they're starting to mix both names. I think my mom sometimes does it for fun.
Yeah.
Gasa Milosh or something like that.
No, just say like Milosh, and she'll tease me about it. You know how moms. But she'll do it, and I'm like, Mom, please just call me by my name. I do not want to forget it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So there's this thing, like everybody comes into casting for a different reason. I don't know what pushed you guys to get into this, because
I'm technically not an official caster. I've been casting for ages, but I actually keep
from the start, not just in an official way. Just what got you thinking, oh, maybe I should try to do this because.
Well, to be fair, I mean, it's going to sound pretty corny and cheesy, but if anything, it was probably because of all you guys. I thought it, and I thought, hey, maybe that's something that I could do. I'll give it a try,
For me, I think the kind of joke answer, but also it's kind of true, was just kind of, I'm not good enough at the game to play it at a competitive level, but I still really like being involved at the high,
yeah, you want to be involved at the top, but you're not good enough in some stages.
But at the same time, there's also, like, I don't really know what specifically it was, but a couple, like, probably around a year ago now, there was a tournament that was hosted on PS4, just like a non-ESL, just like a little player-hosted tournament. And they got Emzo to cast it, so I spoke to Emzo a few times, and he told me to try and get into casting. So I think maybe part of it was from there, and also I just kind of have a natural tendency to like to talk about stuff a lot. Like, like whenever I watch, Siege matches, I'm constantly have this urge to talk to somebody about a Pro League match and stuff like that and analyze it. So I think it was just a natural kind of.
Ghost will be very busy over Invitational weekend.
Yeah.
Very busy. I think what I might do now is I might just free up any plans that I have just to sit at home analyzing.
Yeah. A big thing for me though was the challenge, because when I was young, and this is something that pretty much all of us went through, my parents were super against video games. They still kind of are.
That's not mine, sort of, though. Yeah,
no, they're like super like to the point where they're kind of anti-tech. They don't like these kinds of things. They don't see things the way we. It's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but also it was frustrating to grow up as someone that really was into video games. What is into very specific types of video games? I was mostly a real-time strategy player.
Yeah.
And that was way before I got into FPS. I dabbled here and there, but until CS 1.5 took a while for me to come in.
Yeah.
So a big part of why I started to get into it was when I was a kid, my mom would always tell me, like, oh, get off the computer. This is not
this is not going to feed you. It's not going to pay for your food.
Right. Yeah.
And it kind of stuck to me. It stuck to me for, I want to say, around 14 years. And I just told her.
You say it wouldn't feed you there, but like with casting, I was speaking to one of the new casters for the Premiership on Xbox, Dezachu. He also does like a bit of League of Legends and Arena of Valor, I believe. I'm not sure if I should. I probably shouldn't mention the exact numbers. It's probably more.
No, definitely not.
Stuff.
Yeah,
I won't go into exact numbers, but he was telling me like in his view, he was saying casting is just easy money. Like I get paid this amount for doing this game.
Oh, I know.
I get X amount for doing. And like, because he does multiple games.
Yeah, you make a decent chunk of cash. I'll tell you that. I used to work.
We won't go into details though. Respect for his privacy, sort of.
It's really respect for pretty much like all the stuff that casters in general do. I don't know. This is a thing that a lot of people still see as a taboo. I think there's a point where casters should start talking about it, but at least start insinuating it, because pro players can talk about it. Or they can insinuate to it. You know, you'll see orgs talking, oh, we bought this player for this much money or whatever. Well, you know, casters as well get paid. We don't just, you know, obviously the passion is there, but...
Well, I mean, Ghost doesn't. I think Ghost is just poor.
Yeah, you don't get paid for anything on console from
No.
my understanding.
That's the thing. Like, you'll get paid depending on what the project allows to pay.
Right.
There's your project manager that has to say, okay, well, you know, we have this much of a budget for these. Sometimes they might say, you know, we might not be able to pay you, but we might give you stuff for free.
Yeah.
Because they have just products that they can send you.
Okay, I don't even care what they say. If they offer me free food, I'm down. That'll be me. If they just say, yep, I have some food for free, I'll be like, yep, sign me up.
I was looking at the pictures Emzo was posting of all the pizza they were getting, and I was like, I mean,
that was one pizza.
Yeah.
Do I want to tell you what happened that night? Really, like that night, I like at 7:30 p.m. I'm like, okay, I'm getting hungry. I'm just gonna make some food, and that'll go through the entire night because we're gonna cast up first, and that'll be fine. I can just sit back, and by the time we're home, I'll just eat a tiny thing and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because really fucked up sleep schedule. It's not that comfy for me. Anyways.
Yeah.
I have some food. I think I made like avocado and cream cheese with some salmon. It was really good. But the problem is, you kind of get a bit hungry because the show doesn't start until 1 a.m.
Right.
So we'd get to the office, and production is basically telling us like, oh, we ordered food, we ordered pizza. Like, would you guys eat? Everybody's saying yeah, but like, I may eat like one slice, but nothing more. Because you're imagining normal pizza, right?
Yeah. And
producer just looks at me and is like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, yeah. I mean, how big can it be? What the hell? It's just a pizza. And obviously, he sends that in, and I look at it. I'm like, what the hell is this? The hell is this pizza? This is literally like the size. This is half the size of Devon. You can literally wrap Devon in this as a towel. It's pretty insane.
I think Devon wrapped in pizza is the stuff of my dreams.
Yeah, how to make him even yummy.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
A very yummy man. I mean,
Yeah.
we were trying to contact him as well about coming on eventually.
I think he was flying to Montreal or to the US
busy.
the day we were trying to record, but yeah.
Yeah,
And then we had to get Jane on in.
with Devon being so yummy, I think his fiance really appreciates that. But
I mean, to be fair, I think we appreciate it kind of more. I think we deserve him more.
I think so too.
You tell that to her. I don't know how fun she's gonna find.
Somebody get me in contact with her. I just need to tell her that sorry, we're stealing Devon off you. He's ours now.
For anyone confused, Devon is Emzo.
Yeah.
Okay. For anyone that is confused, we've got Arthur Van is Milosh. I'm not even going to attempt it. We've got Michael Stockley as Kix. isn't it Parker McKay or Mackay or something like that?
Ooh.
Is Intero.
Devin
And we have-
Becker,
Yeah,
Parker
Devin Becker,
Mackay, and
Hassan Finch or something in it.
Hassan Finch.
Yes, I got the surname right. I'm a god.
And Michael
Let's
Stock.
get it. Yeah.
There you go. Easy.
It's-
And then we got Thomas something and Connor Mays.
Yes. That was
See, now,
a nice little roll call there.
We roll
It's a
call for
different thing.
everybody.
I think it's a thing that like I'm the only one that actually calls everybody by their real life name.
Yeah.
Oh well, no. To be fair, I mean, I don't speak to Emzo much, but I will say Devin. I won't
Yeah.
say Emzo.
It just feels nicer. Plus, when I don't say Kicks, I say Michael.
I mean, we've already gone over why people don't say your name.
Yeah, for complicated reasons.
That's
but, like,
something Emzo told me, was that people normally just call him Emzo, that he's gotten really used to people calling him Emzo just because, yeah, I don't know. Apparently everybody just, well, not you, I guess, but...
Well, I think one
Yeah.
thing I need to add is you guys wouldn't be able to do your job without Marciu. We can't leave Marciu out.
Marcio,
yeah.
best cast, or best spectator EU. He's also a
Observer.
caster,
he's a
though.
pretty good caster as well. Yeah, he's a Polish
Yeah,
caster.
yeah.
I've never watched him cast, but...
No,
yeah.
well, he's
Go
pretty
and
solid.
watch Padocalypso versus Xbox Master Race. Marciu casted that. I mean, didn't understand a word of it, but it sounded good.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting, I'll tell you that. And obviously, he knows the game better than most because the way he observes. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
Siege.
I think I could do a good job in Marciu's position as an observer, you know?
I
mean,
feel like
you're-
everyone kind of does. Everyone's always talking
Nah,
trash
there are
about
there
the
are some people
spectator.
that just can't do it. Like I've
No,
seen
but
some
everyone
people
thinks
try and
they
cast while
can.
doing it.
There's some people that are really, really bad at observing, and I think one of them is Verdi, and Verdi will tell you, "I'm really, really bad at observing." I'm like, yeah, I mean, Marius, yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of person that is pretty good at observing. I'd like to say,
Mhm.
because I've done observing like all the Battlefield games. I've done observing in StarCraft 2. I observed Call of Duty. I've observed quite a few games before Siege, and I have no problem looking out where to see the action, how to follow. But with
Like-
Marcio, he also has a lot of experience in this, and with him, he just knows the game so well as well that it's so easy for him to check it. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes like everybody has bad days, or just the action is moving too fast for you to follow.
Yeah.
So, Marcio sometimes has to do extra work, or we need to help him out and let him know what's
Right.
Yeah.
fix the problems.
That's one issue I always get when I'm casting is like, last 20 seconds when all the action is happening. I spend too much time looking at the kill feed trying to call out all the names and like trying to explain what's happening and stuff like that. And I don't like swap who I'm spectating. So like half the time at the end of the round I'm just spectating like some person that's downed way away from the action for like 20 seconds. And it's not really that, it doesn't make for great like viewing.
Oh,
So-
I forgot. How have we not brought this up yet? We're all casters here. The new caster layout. What are the thoughts?
Well, I think I can't really go full on it because I really want to see how it'd be like at the Invitational. I don't know if the white background that they give, because I don't like the white background. That's basically behind the round number.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
problem is for me why I can't judge it, because is this going to be a thing only for the Invitational, like mostly centered around it, or is it going to be different? I don't know. So I need to see what happens at the Invitational before I can actually judge that.
Yeah. I agree.
But otherwise, I think it's good. I think my problem with any UI and Observer UI is the fact that sometimes it takes up so much space on your screen that it takes away from the actual act.
Yeah.
And that was a problem in Siege before. The whole blocky rectangle that takes up a third of the screen is too much. And they're slowly getting to a point where it gives you the information without wasting too much space. But I still think it wastes space. If you see within the box itself, there's some spaces that are way too big for any information that would be there.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think should change. If not, I think
it's just going to be a waste of. I don't envy the UI designers at Ubisoft, especially since they have to deal with us because we're extremely picky. Like, you have no idea how picky we are.
Yeah.
And if there's something that is not perfect how we would like it to be, we will complain about it.
Yeah.
We will harp on and on and on and on about it whenever we get the chance with anybody that can fix it. This is from me, from all the other casters as well, even from production and from Marcio, because we know how important the game is, how much it has potential. What we want is just, can we do this? When can we do this?
Right.
As soon as possible. We really want this to be fantastic. We just hope that things are done on time, or UB team finds a window where they can actually bump the priority of a project.
Yeah, I think well, I say long-term goal. It's about a year, just over a year away. I think me and you, Tom, Montreal next year.
Wow. I'll expect an invite from Ubisoft to Montreal next year. If not, I'm not going in protest.
Oh yeah, God no, I can't afford that. Like, come on. I mean, I know I'll be like 17 then, but still, you know.
Yeah, no. I'm definitely gonna try preparing for it, but we'll see everything that happens in the meantime and stuff like that. So, but yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to point out we've been going for just about almost 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes. So,
hey, I'm pretty sure we can go on for like another hour. The amount of stuff that we haven't talked about.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that's the problem. I think we spent about 20 minutes talking about like your occupation, like you're coming like an I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
optometrist.
Right. I think that was the problem. Is like there's too much stuff to talk about right now that we could keep going.
You get lost in conversation, essentially. Though that's the thing.
Yeah,
that's when you know. That's when you know you're having fun.
Yeah, like right now we're just talking about your outside stuff. We haven't even had time to talk about the details of the invitational.
Yeah,
and that on its own takes hours.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to I want to make a slight comparison here, but like when I'm with my girlfriend, right? I mean, like she could come around my house and she'll be sat here talking to me for about 6 hours, and it feels like 10 minutes. Like she gets here, and then about 5 minutes later she's going home, and I'm like, what?
The first time I checked the time on the episode, I went to check how long we've been recording. I'm like, it's probably like 15 minutes in, and we were at like 45 minutes, and I was like, what the fuck?
What happened? Yeah. That's the thing, though. You can just get lost in conversation, and it's brilliant because it means you're enjoying yourself. You're having a good time.
Yeah, and this is, I was talking about the whole relationship that everybody in the scene has.
Yeah,
especially in the pro scene. Yeah, it's a thing as well. This is basically every night out with anybody from esports. We just end up talking about everything and anything. And now we were just focusing on Siege. Imagine if we started talking about other things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we try keeping this as Siege based as possible, but outside of this, obviously, you're going to talk about personal stuff like work, life, family, and stuff. You're going to go on for ages.
Oh yeah, like just talking about work within Siege, we've barely scratched the surface. There's a lot of things that go into the casting for Pro League. I haven't casted a full season, but I want to say that I have more experience than pretty much everybody right now combined. Just overall casting. And I've been in it for a few years now, like 5+ years at this point. Yeah. So, when I talk about things, I think I know a thing or two about. And the way that you prepare and work everything in Siege is very different than Counter-Strike. Because I did Counter-Strike tournament. It was Intel Extreme Master qualifiers a few days ago. And it was so much easier to be relaxed because with Siege, casters, we are under tremendous pressure, not only from ourselves, but from everybody that watches, because everybody still considers Siege their baby.
Yeah.
We can't treat it casually like you can with CS because of the amount of tournaments that are there, the amount of casters that there are. With Siege, you have to nurture every single part of it. Every single word, every single sentence you say can have repercussions. People will harp on. Like, you'll get an instant tweet about something that you said, like mistake or whatever, or you'll get called out or criticized for it. It's not fun. I'll tell you that. Sometimes it might get to, but it's part of the thrill of the job as well. How
To be fair, in my
Where can you
opinion,
get?
right, if you enjoy your job, it's not a job.
Well,
Oh, that's pretty much. I think we can all agree on this. It's not just enjoying it; the fact that you enjoy it, but also have to live up to a very high standard, actually, with what you have, because the Siege community is very, very demanding. Because this is their only show, right? So, if right now Pro League is the only show, you would definitely want it to be like the best you can have.
all right.
That's the point of view of a lot of people, and definitely agree with. One thing, when next year, because obviously this was announced within the year three post for esports, that there's going to be other tournaments, more local tournaments, and more DreamHack events.
Yeah.
Basically, just going to double or triple the amount of events that we have in one single go. This puts this is more work for us, but it's a lot less stress because now you actually see yourself improving. You don't have to wait 3 months before you can test your skills at a full-blown event. And it's a good thing for everybody. It's a good thing for players. A good thing for us because then we can learn from our mistakes and fix them much faster.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I mean, the game's just more fun when it's happening more consistently. I mean, this game's brilliant anyway. I mean, well, it has its issues, but the game,
Brilliant to watch.
obviously, from a fan's yeah.
Sometimes the play it gets frustrating, but when you get to watch your top tier Pro League level game, holy shit, this is I want more.
Yeah. That's one thing.
It's like a craving almost. Like you just crave more.
Yeah, we haven't had Pro League for so long. We're like, holy shit, please.
Honestly, that's how I'm kind of drooling at the Invitational. Sort of.
That's what I've been saying too. Is like all the teams that I really enjoy watching and care about. Nearly all the teams are already qualified for Invitational, so I haven't seen them play for like 3 months already.
Yeah,
or probably
and it's just
more than
like
that.
getting ready for it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. I'm really excited for the Invitational. I think a lot of people definitely are.
Yeah,
I
but
think if most people knew what goes into the background, running all of this, working on it, even for teams, because I've had the chance to sit down with people during boot camp. I won't say the specific team. I have been able to spend a few times with big teams, learn how they do things, how they prepare for things. It's a very building experience for them, but also for us. You know, if only we could talk more about it. Fortunately, there's a lot of things within that context. Can't really say much.
Yeah.
Because kind of each team does their own thing. But the public can't really
you don't really want to let stuff out, do you? You kind of got to keep it under wraps a little in some sense.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of information.
It's been brought up a couple times, and we like to shut it down. But like we talk about some rumors and stuff. Like rumors, personally for me, I don't know if it goes for the same, but with rumors, I hate rumors. I like to go on the facts, what I know for certain.
Yeah.
Anything specific?
Well, one of the biggest rumors I hear going around a lot, and like I said, you probably won't want to touch on it, and neither do I really, because it's just a rumor, is the fact that it was actually Michael who got Sean fired, essentially.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't, it's not that, no, I don't want to talk about it. I can tell you 100% not.
Yeah.
There's
but everyone seems to believe that for some reason.
But that's
Like,
everyone because they saw that there was a problem between, and both of them talked about it very openly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that is a good thing to do, but they've both expressed their ideas. But the decision was purely taken by ESL and Ubisoft. Sean explained in his post, and if they ever wanted to explain it, obviously it's lawyer explain these kinds of things, because one caster can't really do it. We're all part of the same team. It's up to.
There's no I in team, ahoy.
Yeah, I mean, there's
got to bring out the philosophical bullshit. That's what I do.
The whole thing is up to your boss. Your boss looks at things, and imagine you have a crew, and you're their boss. You evaluate people by the end of the contract, and it is up to your own judgment to see what fits best for your project. It might not fit for everybody. Some people will definitely dislike it. There's always going to be, but specific people work in a specific way. Some people that are not compatible with the way that an overarching project might be. And it's not up to us to say, oh, is this person the right pick for us or not? It is definitely up to our boss. Okay, I'd want to work with this person because this is how we might be against some of the decisions, but there's little we can do because we're just here to do our stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely, like a lot of people I've seen.
In my opinion, esports, it brings together a community. That's what it should be about. The community's a family.
Yeah, but when you're talking about the business side, it's very different. When I was starting off, I'm like, I would do any event for free. I don't care. I just want to do it. Now it's a different thing because it's literally my job, and I see things in a different. It's not just the raw passion that pulls you along. It's the fact that you actually want to live through them because, you want to have a life. You want to do something with your life. You're not just, you're not in school. You're not just in starting off university. You want to get.
Yeah,
it's a different thing. I mean, you're younger than we are, but you'll 100% get what I'm talking. Few years, and you'll see. Because when I was younger, I didn't. Like, it took me a while to realize that these opportunities don't really come along that often, and there's a certain way to in and around the system to be able to survive. It's basically with any job. If you ask anybody that's into that has had quite a few jobs, especially ones that are very socially demanding, you have to act and do things in a certain really nowhere. Sometimes people that just are less skilled than others, like objectively, will get further just because they knew how to manage.
Yeah. That's yeah, I don't really know what else to add to that. But you're right.
This is a topic that's kind of taboo to talk about in esports, but it's very normal to talk about it in the context of your average job.
Yeah.
And even though esports is not
personally for me, I'm not really involved in business side of things much. I mean, I'm 16. I'm still doing revisions for final exams.
Yeah,
so
I understand.
like personally for me, the business side, it's not that like one, I don't know because I'm, like I said, haven't learned about it, haven't been taught about it essentially, and like two is I'm not really bothered by. I mean, obviously you can still talk about it because I'm sure Ghost is interested, but personally for me, I'm not really into this. I mean, obviously it's good to learn about it, but personally, it's just there's other stuff I could think about.
Oh yeah. At the start, you're mostly thinking of yourself as a or public person within the system. But very quickly you realize that there are many things that you can and should do. And I don't know, like you need to learn it to succeed at a higher level. It took me a lot of experiences, a lot of failed to understand what I really wanted, what I should be doing. Honestly, most of it is just dedication.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing who to go to. There's few people that work in the system, even fewer people that are able to help you, because there are so few people that there's not a lot of for these people to just sit stuff. So you have to run around for information without being too annoying, too towards these people that can help you. Very fine line to walk, and I want to say I walked very, very, very finely to get here.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, things can change. People have made blunders.
Yeah.
You say something that's really, really bad. Throw out some cases of people with drugs that have been caught. Some people say extremely racist things publicly as well that have been caught and completely shut because of it.
Yeah.
You're only like a sentence away from losing. You have to be fair.
Right. Yeah, that's
You can lose something in a flash. The same goes as anything really. Any job, you could lose anything in a second.
Yeah, basically. And it is about working with a team. And again, I've said this a few times, but I am very glad to be working with a team is extremely dedicated. It might be, it's not just casters, but also production crew, management are there to help us as casters, but also casters will sit down and we'll talk about the good and the bad things about what they do. We ask one another for reviews. We want to keep a tight-knit family for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We want to also see, like, since there's going to be more events coming year, hopefully afterwards, Siege keeps expanding them, then there will definitely 100% be space for more casters to come in. We've already seen new casters that are coming. It's inevitable. There's no way that 4 casters have a monopoly over everything. It's bad also for viewers. Yeah. It's bad for everyone. If the scene is going to grow in terms of more tournaments, more teams, more viewers coming in, there should be a diverse talent pool. People are just starting to learn that, because you will still watch Pro League and still be the same reaction. Oh, Kickstar, where's Kickstar? Why isn't Kickstar thing? Did he get fired? Like, no, he's casting the game literally after this. He's part of the crew. We're a team. We come in, we split the games because, some people feel more comfortable with one game, or they're well-versed in one
thing I feel like we need to do now is we need to get the 4 of you all on at the same time. That'd be a great atmosphere, I reckon.
Just me and Antero will just, get it.
I feel like that conversation might go on for about 4 or 5 hours at least, at bare minimum.
Easily. We can talk about it quite a bit. There is a need.
Well, I mean, literally, you're paid to talk, so,
Hey, I won't say that I have this Tinder profile, but I do have it on Tinder profile that I talk so well I get paid to do it. That, I know it might not be alpha to say it, but it's pretty alpha to say it.
Yeah.
It's alpha for Parker. Parker loves it. Parker's gonna super like you now.
I mean, Parker, I actually love Parker. Favorite people to because
I mean, I've actually been talking to Parker recently about some personal shit I've going on. Like, yeah, he's a joker, but when it comes down to the DMs, he's very touchy, very serious and touchy.
Yeah, if you're serious, is 100%. He is serious about any series. When it's about fun, holy shit, Parker is one of the fun people you could ever say to. We've had this where it was the first couple of days of Overwatch League. I think we watched the first day at Kix's place, and then subsequent days, basically, just Parker calls me up. Hey, what are you doing? I just woke up. I need to do something. Let's. Let's.
As I say, I mean, I'm missing one of the Overwatch League games right now for you.
Fire.
I'm missing the Spitfires game right now.
Yeah, I know. It just started, but I mean, Shanghai Dragons.
It started an hour ago. Sorry, started an hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Shanghai Dragons is pretty bad. Spitfire's gonna walk off. Which is exactly what's happened.
I mean, I'd never say a team's bad just because respect.
It's not bad. It's like bad compared to.
Yeah.
There's like bad like in general. Oh, they're terrible, whatever. No. There's a bad versus the opponents that they're facing against because their opponents are so good. And in this case, yeah, Spitfire, definitely much better.
But then again, esports is a game of upsets. We've seen it before.
Yeah, but you can still kind of like call most. You will have upsets, especially at the Invitational.
I'm excited
just a
to see
quick
that.
note: Group C at the Invitational. That is the real. Everybody was talking about Group A. Penta.
Yeah, everyone was. I mean, I think we spoke about this when we were with Lazo. Like, yeah, everyone says all the eyes are on Lazo's Group A, but I personally said my eyes are on Group C.
Yeah, Group C.
Black Dragons are probably my favorite They are my favorite Latin America team, I should say. Elevate Now, Counter Logic Gaming, again, very strong side. You can never rule them out of anything. Yeah,
but you can analyze it through it though. You can say Elevate. What they did at Gamescom is basically they had Laxing play out of his mind, and through the support of his team, like his teammates played really well, but he played exceptionally well, which is why they were able to make it to the grand final, and then they just fell apart because they didn't have that mindset that they had once they were playing before. So for me, Laxing doesn't play the way that he did at Gamescom. I didn't think they can make it out. It's that tight when you think that.
Then who else?
TLG,
isn't it Supremacy and Yeah in that group as well?
Supremacy and 100%. There's no question about it.
That's one thing.
An extremely strong team.
Supremacy were brilliant. I mean, I was speaking to Laza about it, obviously, because we saw in the Invitational qualifiers, we saw Supremacy against 1UP, didn't we? I think, yeah, you were on that as well, casting at one point. And I was speaking to Laza about it, like, during the game, and even when we got him on the show afterwards as well, after they had been invited. And he said, yeah, we really hate playing against Supremacy because they're our perfect counter. They counter everything we do.
And this is the thing, though. I think they perfectly counter Elevate as well. Look at the way it's not really countering. It's just that they play very similarly to Elevate. Compare both of their play styles. Elevate, actually on land, like to use the fact of playing high stress environment to play extremely good, well played flanks against. Which is exactly what we saw at Games. So that's how they to shut down any opponent that they played, except for Penta.
Yeah.
Whereas if you see Supremacy, the way that Supremacy play is that they play a extremely standard way of playing Pro League. They rarely play something like a strategy that is very crazy or new or out of the box.
It's mainly just basic what everyone knows works.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because they played Xbox before, and now they're playing PC for the past year. They've excelled in both stages, and they've been playing for 2 years. These guys know each other very, very well, and on top of that, they have not deviated much from their own strategies. So all they have been doing is refining that strategy game after game, tournament after tournament, and they've gotten to the point where they are one of the best teams to play an extremely standard match. Yeah. Because how do you break a team that just knows how to counter pretty much everything? Because if they've been here as a team for 2 years, they've seen it all. Right. How do you do it?
Lazo was very, very confident that Supremacy was going to be one of the best teams. I mean, he even said that they were going to be in the grand finals. He expected to see Supremacy in the grand finals. And he said whatever team wins Group A and Supremacy will be the 2 teams in the grand finals. So, I mean, I don't personally agree with that, but I'm definitely excited to see Supremacy play at Invitationals after hearing that.
I think Supremacy definitely have a big shot of making out of groups to the quarters. But I still think when they will face the big teams, that's like in my mind, big teams are you playing against BT.
Right.
Like, how do you play against? I don't think anybody in Group C has what it takes to beat Elevate Supremacy, and I think it'll be an extremely tight group. But I still think BD is just miles beyond everybody else.
Yeah.
In Group A, it's the same thing with Penta EG. I think Vitality are going to be an extremely weak coming.
Right. I agree with that too.
Which is something a lot of Brazilian people could be really upset with them. Because Vitality, in their eyes, took their spot. But at the same time, it's not like
touch on the community vote too much because I spoke about it previously. In my opinion, I don't think Vitality deserved to be in that vote.
I don't think either BRK deserves to be. If we're looking like a pure 100%, which team deserve it? BRK played in the qualifier and said, otherwise, this is not BRK that we. This is not BRK from the that played in season 4 or season 5. This is a completely different team. So,
do you know who I would have liked to have seen? Because from what I watched their game against BGenius and Xbox Master Race, Patacalypsa. They were actually really good. I thought I really liked Pato.
Yeah, but I think a big problem with Patacalypsa is that they remind me a lot of Invicta Gaming. That they're some of the best players.
They're the Polish team as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very, very good players, decent team. But the problem is, whenever they reach that final stage, they always choke, and it's sad to see.
Yeah,
happy that Room Factory made it all the way there because we need some CIS representation, and Room Factory definitely the ability to push through Group B. I think Mind Freak. There's no way to say it. They really don't have a chance in this against Liquid Rogue and Room Factory unless they play something extremely out of the box. I think Mind Freak has a much better shot than Eins.
Oh, Eins are against FaZe, Ents, and Error, and Error were amazing in the qualifiers.
I would still not. This pushes me back to what was it? WBG when they played to WBG.
Yeah.
Which team was in Gamescom? There was another NA team, Elevate, Rogue, and there was another team. I think that was WBG. I don't remember that.
No, it wasn't WBG. It was
WBG.
At Gamescom.
Somebody else. Yeah. I don't remember the name. It's just completely escaped.
Oh, there you go. News just in: the Spitfires beat Shanghai 3-0.
Oh, you're watching it? Yeah, I have it up.
Oh yeah, let me get this up on my Twitch as well.
So here's the thing. We had an A team that came in. I don't remember their org name, but they got completely dumpstered, even though they got number 1 online. You can play as best as you want.
Oh, it was
qualifiers.
Excellence at the time.
Excellence. There
it's
you
Error
go.
now.
Excellence just completely dumpstered offline.
Yeah.
There's like no way around it. Like I don't
Was it 10-2, I think?
Something like that. They completely shut down They got completely shut down. They played so well online, but online is nothing. You know, it's online is just so irrelevant once you have offline. This is something for a lot of Siege players, and even the same thing. Have the same conversation with Kix and with Devin. But I tell them I have so much time set around LAN events that I can tell you LAN are completely different beasts than when you play online.
Yeah.
You can't compare the, and there's a lot of teams that will do that, and I'm scared that Era will do the same thing this time. You know, under basically different than what we saw at Gamescom. But with Mind Freak, they can pull the trump card. But from what I've seen from Pack, they have definitely improved from the previous season, but they have a lot of work to do still. And Rogue is the team that can make it or break. Rogue can either play exceptionally well, or they just fall off. We have this theory that a lot of the teams that have been around from the start, and players that have been around from the start, are starting to lose their edge. They have stopped innovating like we saw them do before. And I think that's going to be a huge bad part for Rogue. I think they can either demolish the opposition or they can get shut down immediately.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see Group B and C specifically. Group D and A seems fairly easy to predict. Not as much Group D, but I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Group
the
A is
upsets
definitely easy to predict. There's no way around.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I am excited for 1UP Esport, and I do want them to win. But
I was gonna say,
yeah,
one
like
up EG is the very first game, so like as we spoke to Lazo, it's gonna be tough, but he's confident they can do it.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, like you said, there's no way around it. Like, it's an incredibly hard group for Vitality and 1UP. So
it's not impossible.
Yeah,
you're facing against the two best teams, the defending world champions of EG, because obviously you only call a world champion a team that has won at the Invitation.
Right.
So there's only one world champion per year. So you have the defending world champion and the 2 or 3 time.
I'd say 2 time.
3 time for only Pengu, but it's a 2 times in a row. They messed up really badly when Brazil. It was very possible to get at least a finalist or a finalist position. In Brazil,
right.
Still, you're facing best 2 teams, best team EU, best team NA. No matter what, with ENCE have gone with a huge change, without having
Shate.
Even though literally like an hour ago they were playing against Multi-On Gaming in Assembly. Uno was an impressive player. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah, we spoke to Dokian about how Uno plays.
Yeah, it's just very different than Shate. We're always used to having Shate that being that anchor. It's not going to be the case anymore. Wilkie will probably have to take care of that, and Uno is just a fragger. He's very good at fragging. But the question is, does ENCE really need another fragger? They already have Kanto. Panari's pretty good.
Kanto on his day is insane.
Yeah. Now he's better than ever. I think he's gotten over his
confidence
his mindset problem.
And the confidence.
Yep, he had that before. Like at the start, the first couple seasons, it was a big problem, and now he's so much more comfortable with playing on stage, playing the game on a professional level. I think this is the Kanto that promises to deliver a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of have to head off right now, so sorry for cutting it a bit short, but I just want to say, like,
rip the dream.
We really will have to wait and see. And I mean, especially Group B, C, and D are going to be really exciting to see. And also, I believe Penta play EG, right? Penta play EG in the group stages before going on.
So if Penta and EG win their respective games, then they will have to face one another in the third match.
Or if they both lose, just saying.
Yeah, who knows? Hey.
That would really be something if Penta and EG both lost to Vitality and
Thing is,
up.
if they both lose, that means the loser of their game is going home.
Well, yeah.
Hmm?
So if anything, I actually kind of want to see that just because it would throw like a huge spanner in the works of some people's predictions.
So
if you've got a ghost goes, I think this should definitely be a part 1 with Milosh, with a part 2 coming soon. Because I think we could go for a lot longer than just 2 hours.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think one final thing before we end: best case scenario final for you guys. What would it?
Best as a fan or as like an analyst?
Both.
What I would like
as an analyst, what does your mind tell you, and what does your heart?
Okay, my mind says FaZe in the final up against I don't know. But my mind is on FaZe winning. I think FaZe will take it. I think
that wouldn't surprise me at all.
If not FaZe, a Brazilian team will take it, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
My heart personally, who I want to win, it's a toss-up between 1UP, an organization who I've always loved, their Xbox teams, their PlayStation teams, and now obviously the acquisition of the PC Pro League team. So 1UP's always up there in my heart. And I mean, Black Dragons and ENCE as well. I mean, I've always loved ENCE, and Black Dragons are my favorite team in Latin America, as I've stated previously. So my heart is one of those. My head says FaZe.
For me, I really want to see Penta EG Grand Final because we didn't get it at
Sao Paulo.
Yeah, at Sao Paulo. And since, Penta are 2-time Pro League champions this year, EG are defending Invitationals champions. It'd be a really exciting match, and both teams really want it, especially with Shate on Penta. But, I'd be happy with any mix of, Penta, EG, any Brazilian team, and Counter Logic, Supremacy, Era, ENCE. All these teams, I'd be very happy to see them in the finals. And that's part of the thing that excites me so much, is just seeing so many amazing players playing against each other in so many different combinations.
Definitely believe Penta AG would be the best case scenario for me.
Yeah.
That's mind and heart.
Yeah.
As you're saying, I really want to see it, but also I think knowing how these teams practice and how they work on their schedules compared to everybody else, almost all the other teams have a lot of up to do. And if they don't fall into the trap of giving away maps for free, like we saw with Penta doing it basically in Sao Paulo.
That's a habit they've gotten into, which is not a good one.
Yeah. If you play that pick ban phase, I think we can definitely see them both in the final. And that's where it's the real toss-up, who takes that.
Right.
I think under the correct conditions, Penta can definitely do it. But if you ask my coworkers, they'll tell you EG, it's probably just the EU NA thing.
Yeah, you just got a bunch of NA coworkers. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's the issue. I'm used to talking to everybody from EU, but when I talk about EU, they're like, "Oh no, you're so biased. You're so biased." No, it's just it's just a fact.
Statistically,
it's just we're better.
I mean,
I don't know if you can decide, Ghost. Ghost, you're kind of like part Canadian, part Norwegian. So can you really decide between the two?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is it's kind of a toss up for me, but for me, it just there's no real way around it. NA is the weakest of the 3 regions at the moment, in my opinion. I think. I don't want to cause any controversy, but EG and Counter Logic are the only 2 good NA teams, in my opinion.
And even then, if you look at the higher tier, EG are the ones that spend so much in terms of playtime and their boot camp,
right?
All of that adds.
Right.
EG are, I don't want to say forced, but they are in a very strict way of playing the game. I don't think any other team has in NA.
Right.
And it's a difficult thing. As good as CLG is, for people that haven't, have been under a rock for the past 24 hours, previously Elevate CLG, the big thing with they don't get enough this time.
Yeah. If they don't know, they
together.
should know by the time this is pumped out. This will be coming out in like a week for us. So when they
Yes.
hear this, it'll be a week previously.
There you go. So if you've been living under a rock for the past,
Like
Just-
8 days.
yeah, just pull that rock up from above you and make sure that you understand that this event is going to be huge. If you think teams right now are in a great spot and Pro League's in a great spot and Siege is in a great spot, look at this after the Invitational. More orgs are coming. Players are going to get better support from their organizations. Bigger orgs that spend the money on. Ubisoft is doing a lot of work on this. ESL is helpful as well. This is the time to get into Siege. After the Invitational, I said this before, after the Invitational is going to be too late. Teams are going to be very, very expensive to buy.
Right.
So either you're in now or you better have the bank account to manage, because it's going to get bigger with more and more tournaments. Definitely.
Well, especially when if you look at, just a quick hint, look at some of the teams that are orgless currently. Former Flipside, I don't know, former Most Wanted, former Infamy. All 4 of those teams are very good teams, and they're all currently orgless.
Yes, I mean, I can argue for Flipside not being that great.
I'd
I
say
think
flip
they
side.
haven't been.
In
They
my
haven't been
opinion,
really invent much anymore. They've fallen behind. It's a
Yeah.
legacy, sure, but they've fallen behind in terms of like the big tier. Look at the top tier players. They've changed the way that they play. They've kept improving. With Flipside is that they haven't been able to find anything. It's a problem. I think they're just nowhere near the level that they should be in. Where people are saying, "Oh, Cloud9 picked them up" or anything. With all due respect to the players, and I am friends with the players. I do know them. I would say there's why would you buy them? Because they're not at the peak anymore. They need to prove themselves again. And I think the fact that they held on to their Pro League spot means that they have even more pressure to work with. They need to get into the top 3, top 4 of the end of this season.
Yeah.
If not, then I think they're just going to be relegated.
Yeah.
And it's going to be bad. You don't want to only be known for. Yes, you want to be in Pro League, in the top 4 of Pro League, if you want to make sure that people know your worth.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, you're gonna have to shoot off now, Ghost Joe.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, that was definitely by a mile the longest episode we've ever had. But I had a lot of fun recording it, and it was quite exciting. A lot of interesting.
Milosh, do you
topics.
mind if you stay behind here for like an extra 5 minutes? I can talk to someone privately while we're out of recording. Yeah, sure. No worries.
Thank
I'll let
you,
you
Milosh,
wrap
for
up,
coming
guys.
on, and I have to head off. So peace out.